Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, January 7th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. They are a hot item, not just here, but across the country. We're talking about those at-home COVID test kits, and today they were being given away by the tens of thousands in one part of the county. KPBS reporter Melissa May has more on the perfect timing for the handout.
And here's your kit. There's 2 tests per kit.
The Sweetwater Union High School District is set to go back to school on January 11th and has rallied to distribute just over 36,000 COVID-19 test kits to the students in the district.
We received our allocation 2 days ago at our district warehouse.
Dr. Moises Aguirre is the district superintendent. He says the goal is for every student to test on Saturday and on Monday before they come back to in-person learning on Tuesday.
The reason we're doing this is really to make sure that we return from winter break in a way that's safe and that guards the health and safety of our students, our staff, and really our entire community.
As you can see with the turnout, our students, our parents, they're showing up because they want to do the right thing. We're here to support one another, and this is the best way to do it, to work together as a team.
Maribel Gavin is the principal of Sweetwater High School. She says the community really came together, from the National City Police helping with traffic control to the school staff.
I also called in staff that are on vacation, but they gave up their vacation day today to come in and support because they see the importance behind it.
Many parents were grateful for not only the test kits, but how fast they received them, like Marco Franco, who was picking up a kit with his son, Diego.
It was very easy. I thought we were going to run into a lot of traffic, a lot of, just delays. We came in here, 2 minutes, pulled up, got the test. Very, very easy process.
Marco coaches and Diego plays for the Sweetwater High School basketball team.
It's very proud to be part of this this community here and proud of this school, that seeing the staff out there, donating their time to make sure that these kids get back to school very safe.
Students who test positive must isolate for 10 days and can return to school on day 11. No negative test is required to return to school. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Moments ago, the county announced another 5,922 COVID cases today. Health officials also urged everyone to get all the recommended vaccines and to only get tested as necessary. It comes as cases have jumped from about 4,700 per week to more than 45,000 cases reported. Hospitalizations have also more than doubled in the past 30 days, from 320 to 774. County officials recommend you only get tested for COVID if you have symptoms and to stay home if you are sick. If you test positive at home, isolate for at least 5 days. This week, 86 employees of the city of San Diego were told they could be fired for not complying with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. But that doesn't include employees who filed requests to be exempt, either for medical or religious reasons. KPBS investigative reporter Claire Tregeser has details on who's filing those requests.
Nearly 1,100 City of San Diego employees have so far filed exemption requests, and more than half of them work for the San Diego Police Department. As of Wednesday, the city had received 525 requests from police. That's more than 20% of the entire department. Other city departments with high numbers of requests include fire, transportation, environmental services, and stormwater. The numbers are particularly concerning to public health experts because employees in those departments have the most frequent interactions with the public, especially the police. And people don't always have a choice about whether they come in close contact with police officers, says Rebecca Fielding Miller, an epidemiologist at UC San Diego.
It's not like you can just walk away from a police officer if you don't feel safe. If it's mandatory that you have to spend time with somebody face to face, then that other person should have to be vaccinated because it's an airborne infectious disease.
The police and fire unions did not return requests for comment. The city will review each exemption request on a case-by-case basis and may reach out to employees for additional information, says spokeswoman Nicole Darling.
It involves human resources, reviewing the employee's written submissions, as well as communications with the employee to really determine the employee's circumstances and then appropriate potential accommodations.
Employees could either request medical or religious exemptions, but the bulk, almost 96%, filed religious requests. The medical exemptions require the employee to fill out a 3-page questionnaire about their health condition and have a healthcare professional fill out a reasonable accommodation medical documentation form. The religious exemptions require the employee to identify their religion or belief system and then describe the specific tenet, belief, or practice that conflicts with the city's vaccination requirement. And if an employee has received other vaccinations like tetanus shots, flu shots, or childhood vaccinations, the form asks them to explain how their religious beliefs prevent them from getting the COVID vaccine, but not the others. No additional information is required, but the form says the city may follow up with the employee for, quote, additional supporting information and documentation. The city has yet to approve or deny any of the requests. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
Some 84 million people could be required to get vaccinated or tested before they go to work. Maybe even you. Today, the Supreme Court began looking at 2 of the federal government's COVID-19 vaccine mandates, and they include employees of large businesses and for healthcare providers who get funding through Medicare or Medicaid. Challengers believe the mandates are unconstitutional because they disregard state sovereignty. But the Department of Justice argues they're critical to the country's COVID-19 response and recovery. As hospitals fill up in the county because of COVID, emergency room delays are causing a backup in the system. Ambulances are having to wait longer to drop off patients. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado tells us paramedics and EMTs are also getting sick, adding to the strain.
There's no room, or it's pretty scarce, in many emergency rooms across San Diego County. COVID infections are spreading faster than ever because of the more contagious Omicron variant. Jeff Boehm is the managing director of Falck San Diego, the city's emergency services contractor. He says he's never seen COVID calls as high as now, and he went through the surge on the East Coast in 2020.
This is a worse situation that we're seeing because of the call volume. Because since there's no lockdown, everybody's out and about doing their thing.
Call volume has increased 30% since Christmas. As a result, ambulances are having to wait longer outside the hospitals to drop off patients because staff beds are scarce.
We have been at hospitals for up to 3 hours waiting with patients. And so that just is a reduction in the units that are out in the field trying to send an ambulance to people that need our help. So that's definitely hitting us hard.
And people having to wait more than an hour and a half in emergency rooms has more than doubled. That forces paramedics to provide more than emergency transportation.
We're just walking into a hospital trying to turn a patient over, and we're basically providing another service that we're not getting compensated for to care for a patient while they're on the hospital property.
They're struggling to keep up with demand.
We need to triage, and that's what happens under circumstances like this when you're dealing with a certain amount of units, but a volume that's just higher than those units can respond to. And we want to make sure we get to the life-threatening situations.
EMS Deputy Chief Jody Pierce of San Diego Fire and Rescue says staffing shortages and bed availability are 2 factors that are affecting the entire system, but the mutual aid system is filling the need.
San Diego County agencies, whether public or private, have really come together to meet the needs of our communities through increased communication, resource sharing. We are prepared to respond to any incident and provide the care.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
The COVID surge has now impacted the search for San Diego Unified's next superintendent. Interim Superintendent Dr. Lamont Jackson and Dr. Susan Enfield of the Seattle area are in the running for the top job. The district had planned 3 public forums with the 2 final candidates, but now those are on hold for the month of January.
I would hate to rush this and risk the health and lives of community members, staff, and students unnecessarily. A delay in making this decision does not, in my view or in this Board of Trustees' view, harm the district in any way.
The State of the District address, which was scheduled for January 18th, will also be postponed. Trash continues to pile up in Chula Vista and Mira Mesa as the Republic Services trash haulers strike carries on. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more.
Ahorita con este llevo dos. Yo creo que ya nomás con este termino de tirar.
Right now, this is my second load. I think I'll be done after this one. Ricardo Durazo has added a new task, trash pickup, to the list of maintenance jobs he has to get done at Fiesta Plaza. Waste collection has become part of his daily routine since the labor strike at Republic Services started 3 weeks ago. He fills up his maintenance van with as much trash as he can and then drives up the road to dump it at the landfill.
Gente como mira basura, llega gente de afuera a tirar.
And it's not just the trash from the businesses at the plaza that he's picking up, but garbage from other people's homes. He says nearby residents who haven't had their trash collected have started using the plaza's dumpsters. Although he's directly affected, Durazo says he's not angry.
Cada quien sabe por qué lo están haciendo, pero pues
only they know why they're on strike. They're human, just like us, and need our support, he says. Cesar Silva, a driver with Republic Services, says the community support has motivated them to keep going until they get a contract they think is fair.
We knew it might come to this point, so we were preparing the whole year to be able to stay out for as long as we had to.
In a statement sent to KPBS, Republic Services said they're disappointed that the union representing the striking team rejected a proposal that would have resulted in a labor contract and put an end to the 3-week work stoppage. They said their offer featured a highly competitive wage and total compensation plan. Meanwhile, Republic Services says their Blue Crew relief drivers will continue collection service, but strikers say those replacement drivers aren't doing enough. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
Marine Corps officials at Camp Pendleton are deliberating the future of the man in charge of an amphibious tank that sank and killed 9 Marines during a training exercise last year. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has details.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Regner was in charge of the battalion when an amphibious assault vehicle sank. The vehicle left San Clemente Island Beach and then sank in deep water. Lynn Ostrovsky, the mother of Jack Ryan, one of the Marines who died.
I think they were too distracted. I think they had too many irons in the fire. All it would have taken was for one officer, one leader to stand up and say, wait, stop.
In the weeks prior to getting into the water, officers testified that elements of the unit had just returned from 90 days of duty at the southern border. Others participated in a desert-focused exercise called Native Fury. COVID had also just taken hold.
What was their rush? These were brand new Marines, most of them. Like I said, my son just had 13 months.
The colonel who conducted the command investigation called the craft used that day garbage, riddled with mechanical problems, saying that the operation was poorly executed. Ostrovsky watched from the audience as other parents broke down on the stand as they recounted the last 18 months since their sons died.
I don't know if there is justice. I mean, nothing's going to bring our sons back, and that's the tragic thing. You know, he didn't just die on July 30th, 2020 with his 8 buddies. He dies every day in our memories.
Regner is the first of several Camp Pendleton Marines to face being kicked out of the service for their role in the deadliest accident with amphibious assault vehicles in the history of the Corps. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
The 3 men convicted in the killing of Ahmad Arbery were sentenced today. The 25-year-old black jogger was gunned down back in February of 2020. Reporter Chris Nguyen has more.
Count 4. Inside a South Georgia courtroom, a trio of convicted killers learned their fate during sentencing Friday afternoon.
Ahmad Arbery was murdered. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy on many, many levels.
In November, Travis McMichael, his father Gregory McMichael, and neighbor William Roddy Bryan Jr. were found guilty of felony murder and other charges in the February 2020 shooting of Ahmad Arbery outside Brunswick.
We're going to miss his jokes, his impersonations, his warm smile.
Arbery's mother rejected a federal plea deal in which the men would be sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. On Friday, she asked for the maximum penalty, life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge handing down that sentence to the McMichaels, but making Bryan eligible for parole. Defense attorneys say the men acted in self-defense, claiming they were trying to make a citizen's arrest after they suspected Arbery of burglary, but his family says he was just jogging through the area.
They killed him while he was doing what he loved than anything, running. That's when he felt most alive, most free, and they took all of that from him.
This community forever changed by Arbery's death.
I also believe that in assuming the worst in others, we show our worst character. Assuming the best in others is always the best course of action. And maybe those are the grand lessons from this case.
All right, we are. Chris Wynn, KPBS News.
For over a decade, police in San Diego County have been using technology that tracks the location of people's cars. But as Cody Delaney found, some agencies have been breaking state law by sharing that location data with law enforcement all over the country.
They're called automated license plate readers. Police use them to capture every license plate that comes into view, including the time, date, and location. That data can be used to connect cars to crime scenes, but it can also reveal intimate details about our private lives, such as where and how we spend our time.
Most people do not have a choice except to drive in many car-dependent communities, and so they have to subject themselves to this surveillance whether they like it or not.
That's why lawmakers in 2015 said this data has to remain in the state of California. But an iNewsSource investigation found that until recently, 5 local police departments were sharing with states as far away as Florida and New York. Police maintain that the more information available, the more successful they can be in their mission. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource investigative reporter Cody Delaney.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. More than 60 million people are under winter weather alerts, prompting local governments and schools in several states to close. Kentucky is under a state of emergency. A more than 20-car pileup there shut down a major roadway. New York City is seeing its first significant snow, with at least 5 inches blanketing the city as well as parts of New England. There are major disruptions for air travelers, too. According to FlightAware, more than 2,000 flights were canceled today.
That marine layer has certainly been thick at times, and we're going to continue with the marine layers. We head into the weekend. A slow warm-up, actually, though, going into next week, and we'll be staying dry all the while. So really not much in the way of rain. Maybe as we get towards the middle of next week, we could see possibly some showers trying to work in. But again, a marine layer out there, some clouds for us. Temperatures falling back into the 50s. 53 for the low, 48 in Oceanside as we head through tonight, and overall looking fairly quiet getting into tomorrow, which is actually going to be warmer than, again, where we've spent most of the end of December here. So again, enjoying some mild weather as we keep things pretty quiet across the region. 63 for the high tomorrow. Notice Chula Vista coming in at 62, Ramona coming in at 61, Borrego Springs lower 70s for you. And everyone's just dealing with a couple of clouds out there, but not a whole lot happening. And that continues into Sunday as the jet stream continues to push towards the north, even giving parts of the Northwest, like Oregon and Washington, a break from all the action that they have had recently. For us along the coast here, temperatures staying in the mid-60s as we head through the weekend and into early next week. We will watch a few extra clouds there for Monday, and then temperatures trying to rise a bit towards Tuesday and Wednesday. Inland locations, some extra clouds possible Sunday into Monday. Temperatures, though, getting close to 70 degrees by the time we start next week, and that's where we'll stay probably as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday, lower to mid-70s, so pretty mild time here working its way through. Mountain locations, All looking pretty quiet here, dealing with the extra clouds, but overall temperatures seasonable in the 40s or 50s, depending on where you are. And as we work our way through the desert locations, you can see here, we're holding on close to 70 degrees. Maybe a few extra clouds Monday could keep us just a touch cooler, but we will stay pretty mild into Tuesday and Wednesday. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constancer.
The recovery in the jobs market just crossed a big milestone with unemployment falling below 4%. Here's SDSU's Miro Kopik with the Friday Business Report.
Well, the U.S. economy created 199,000 jobs. It's a little bit below the expectations of about 450, but on the whole, the U.S. labor market at the end of 2021 is extraordinarily robust. We generated over 6.4 million new jobs, which is a record based on any year in that they've been recording jobs growth. The last 2 months have been revised upward to reflect an additional 140,000 jobs created in October and November. The unemployment rate, because of the number of increase in new jobs, declined from 4.2% to 3.9%. So we were at 3.5% just before the pandemic. So we're pretty close at those pre-pandemic lows. As long as we're kind of hitting that 350,000+ job average threshold, we should be able to reabsorb all those other jobs that are still missing from the economy and still continue our economic growth.
Legendary and groundbreaking actor Sidney Poitier has died. Poitier was the first black performer to win the Best Actor Academy Award, which he won in 1964 for his role in the film Lilies of the Field. He received much acclaim, including a second honorary Oscar for his performances in iconic movies, including In the Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and A Raisin in the Sun. Poitier was also a prominent civil rights activist and served as Bahamian ambassador to Japan for a decade, starting in 1997. He was 94 years old. Although the pandemic has not gone away, more cinemas have reopened, allowing more opportunities to see releases in theaters. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando spent hundreds of hours in the dark watching films in 2021 in order to compile this list of the year's best movies.
Any year that gives me a pair of French slackers trying to train a giant fly and a hell demon controlled by a bratty little girl is a year to rejoice in.
I will bathe in your blood.
Don't worry.
Be worried.
Okay, neither of those films made my top 10, but they both have a place in my heart, and I hope you'll seek them out. But on to the top 10. In the number 10 spot is No Time to Die, the film that suffered repeated delays before finally hitting cinemas in October. I saw it 4 times in theaters and fell in love with Daniel Craig's final Bond appearance. As a lifelong Bond fan, I felt the film delivered all the action you expect from a 007 movie, but with unexpected emotional weight. Coming in at number 9 is an audacious turn by French director Julia Ducournau. With Titane, she delivers another body horror tale that's both gender and genre bending, as it takes one strange turn after another. At number 8 is Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, a film that made me swoon. It's a ravishing Valentine to the movies and to London in the 1960s. It simply gave me goosebumps with its rapturous sense of style. At number 7, I highlight Val, one of 2021's many outstanding documentaries.
My name is Val Kilmer.
Compiled from decades of videos and from a narrative Kilmer has his son read, this heartbreaking and inspiring documentary serves up a compelling portrait of an artist as well as the creative process. We don't see many films from Africa released here in the U.S., but I found my number 6 pick, This Is Not a Burial, This Is a Resurrection, on Amazon Prime, and was dazzled by its unique narrative style and window to a very different world. At number 5 is Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog, a Western revenge tale told with unexpected nuance and elegance. I love Campion's confidence in creating a film made up of silences and minimal action. Then at number 4, I have a second documentary and an animated one called Flee. It's the true story of Amin, who arrived in Denmark as an unaccompanied minor from Afghanistan. It starts in the present with the adult Amin recounting a secret he's been hiding for decades. The audio of Amin's interview is then brought to vivid life through animation and archival footage. My number 3 slot is Joel Coen's adaptation of Shakespeare's Macbeth.
My husband, king that shall be.
If we should fail,
We fail. This is another film that's simply intoxicatingly cinematic. Coen's claustrophobic and horror-tinged imagery perfectly match Shakespeare's tale of a man who feels more and more trapped by fate and his own bad choices. At number 2 is another film I found streaming on Amazon called 9 Days.
You are being considered for the amazing opportunity of life.
Actor Winston Duke excels in this feature film debut of writer-director Edson Oda. The visually poetic film is inventive and offers an achingly sweet celebration of the tiny details of life that we should appreciate. And at number 1 is Rusuke Hamaguchi's Drive My Car. The film doesn't show its hand as it seems to meander about, but your patience is richly rewarded with an exquisitely crafted story about grief and loss and finding human connections. Many of these breathtaking films are currently available on streaming platforms. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Hope you have a great weekend.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.